The last time I met Abu Ghazi was the last time I saw Istanbul. That meeting was close to the borders. I would say close because I did not have clear information. They would lead me and I would follow. Abu Ghazi was leading a group of different nationalities who were all heading to Syria. They brought a small truck and we all got on. Men from the front and women from the back. I can say that this was the last time I saw Istanbul and the sun before reaching Syria. They took us to a camp which was set up in an old and abandoned hospital. This place was for the militants and their wives. The place was like a township and women were divided into groups, but I had no information of the regimentation and accommodation of the men. We had to wake up at dawn and prepare very large quantities of food and wash tons of clothes. There was a huge number of men whom we had to satisfy. At least we had to satisfy their hunger for food. The only thing that would make all this tolerable was the fact that we believed that we were the most honorable women on earth and the closest to heaven. I kept on living there, and because of the sort of life that I had in the camp and the relationships that I had made with other women there, I gradually discovered that many of the women there who had lost their husbands were remarried to other militants. I talked to one of them who had this happen to her. She told me that the militants would go from one place to another. They would go from Idlib to Damascus to Qusayr, and they don't take their spouses with themselves because they'd be a burden. The men had to fight and couldn't take care of their wives. Then, in that moment, I realized that upon their deployment to another front, the militants would divorce their wives and would marry new women in their new place of deployment. And this wouldn't happen just for once. Oh my God! After a while, my husband came to me and said that he was going to fight in the Al-Qusayr front. My heart dropped. I was hoping that he wouldn't divorce me. I was hoping that I was different from the others. Thankfully, he did not divorce me. He set off for the fronts. The women didn't leave me on my own and helped me through it all, thanks to God. But after a month, he came back, and he came back with only one intention. He divorced me and left, and I never heard of him again.
Some of
the Takfiri leaders exploit the weakness and loneliness of foreign girls and draw them into an endless whirlpool of marriages, which are unlawful according to Islamic marriage rules. Some of them are married 10 times in this unlawful way.
After only 2 days of my divorce, one of the commanders came to me and asked me to marry him. Only after 2 days after my divorce. Of course I rejected his offer because, oh my God, we are ordered in our Sharia that women should refrain from marriage and sexual activities for a certain period of time after divorce or the death of their husband. I told him this, but in fact he had a premeditated answer. I said that such a thing was illogical and impossible. Nevertheless, all the women at the camp encouraged me to agree to such a marriage and said that it was wrong for me to stay single. After 2 days, the new guy told me that he had to leave Idlib to go and fight in another front. And, oh God, he divorced me after a 2-day marriage. After the passage of a few days after my second divorce, I noticed that my second husband had not left Idlib. Through the women and their husbands, I realized that he was still in Idlib. It was then that for the very first time I got truly scared because my trust was taken away from me. I could no longer trust the people around me. I realized that I was completely alone. They were the absolute rulers of everything. Besides, I was merely a foreigner in that war camp. They would control all the aid routes and even the citizens, let alone the militants. Everything was under their absolute power and control. I could see no solution in front of me. How and from where could I leave? I did not even have a vehicle to leave. I had gone under a roof from which there was no escape. In fact, I could see myself stuck in a whirlpool. I had no other options but to give in to the situation. Each week, we would face 5 husbands. Not everyone was the same, but almost all of them were foreigners. But on the average, 5 marriages a week. At first, they would explain to me the reasons for divorce and would try to justify it. But after a while, when they saw that I had given up, they would no longer even bother to explain. The more they could see that I had realized the gravity of my situation and thus disillusioned, the more they would get me involved and the more they would abuse me and put me under pressure. Then came a time when they started to see me as a burden, and it was when I got pregnant. Then they told me that I could leave if I wanted to. They picked me up in a car with the militants and then abandoned me 1 kilometer to borders. I walked that 1 kilometer to the border, and there I was met by the Turkish border patrol. They sent me to Istanbul, to the Tunisian embassy, and then I was sent back to Tunisia. Meanwhile, I was interrogated thoroughly by everyone, be it from the border police to the embassy staff and so on. What have you done? Where have you been? How? And so forth. Then, when I arrived in Tunisia, I got arrested, and here I was once more interrogated extensively. Upon realizing that I was pregnant, I was sent to hospital for medical exams.